Thanks for calling the At Home Show with Josh and David. If you've got a question about your garden, home project, or anything else, including the cosmos, leave your name, number, and message after the beep. Hey, Josh. Hey, David. It's Mike, and I hope this message finds you well. It's Saturday, May 29th, my anniversary with my wife. So heads up, I ain't going to be on the show today. I know I'm calling in right at 8 o'clock, but hopefully Cary can jump over there and take care of things. And I'll have to see you next week. That sound okay with everybody? Sound pretty good? Okay, cool. Also, there's something very, very important that I meant to tell Cary about running that board, and I don't remember what it is. She'll get it. Don't worry about it. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Don't fire me. Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Calm down. Now, Michael, I'm sorry we didn't...
I was about to say, Tyler, you didn't get my message out there, buddy.
I sure didn't, buddy.
We just picked up on the on your unexcused absence from last week. So, David, I think we'll have to remove that from his file.
Gone for a while.
Yeah, I know. All righty. Folks, it's Saturday morning. It means it's time for the At Home Show. I am Josh Cary.
And I am David Bates.
Mr. T, Tyler's over there, and Tyler can. Michael's in studio. Austin's going to be in here this morning as well. Cary's got the day off, but David, it's going to be a beautiful day wherever you are in Middle Tennessee.
It's going to be a beautiful day, and we need to enjoy it while it's here because there's considerable moisture in our future. It's Saturday.
Just what we need.
It'll be partly cloudy today, a high of 87 degrees, so it's going to be on the toasty side. Perhaps a little bit of the accustomed swelter for the time of year, but it's not going to last a long time because tomorrow, later in the afternoon, looks like some thunderstorms can move in. High of only 80 degrees, so it'll be a bit cooler. And, of course, it'll be overcast with the chance of thunder showers. And maybe 0.3 of an inch of rain, a couple more tenths maybe Monday with more, maybe close to 0.5 inch on Tuesday and Wednesday.
You can stop that anytime you want to.
A little bit less on Thursday, and maybe a little about the same on Friday. If we got all the rain that is currently forecast, we'd probably get 2.5 inches of rain this coming week.
No, I don't want it.
If that's going to happen or not. But today is the day that we're in. We're not going to live in the future. The good news is that if you're planning things today and this weekend, which is absolutely no good reason not to, you're going to have a week of reprieve from really having to do much watering after you do the initial watering. So it's all things considered, really good week. It is currently 65 degrees here. It's a beautiful sunny day here in the Music City.
Yeah, the bat phone is back, 615-499-6690. If you want to text, you can text a question to that. You can post a comment on the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates Facebook page. If you're a follower of a lot of pages, you may have got a notification from In the Garden with Earth Mix and Bates Nursery. I mean, you just get out there, you can comment on it, but we're probably going to have to catch that a little later in the day. So go to the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates page if you want to participate alive here in the green room.
And we certainly encourage you to go out there and follow us on that page. Mm-hmm. And we also encourage you to share that out there. Not only there, of course, if you happen to be watching us on YouTube, share us there as well. We want to get the word out and try to keep this thing moving forward. We're trying to mature a little bit, Josh. I know that's a lot to ask for guys like us, but to mature a little bit in our later stages of our broadcast career. Because we're bringing in more educational elements to hopefully bring a little more substance to the program. And that's why Austin's here, because Austin's a really sharp guy. He's got a lot of information. And
he's the brains of the outfit. Is that what you're saying?
Look around the studio and see there's just hydrangeas everywhere.
It's Hydrangea week on the At Home Show. And you've just got about every kind that you got on the lot out there, don't you, Austin?
Yeah, pretty much every one we sell. We got 5 different species of hydrangea in here, and you start looking around town, things are starting. It's going to be a good year for hydrangeas. If y'all been driving around, you've been noticing the blues and the pinks, the round ball hydrangeas. They're getting juiced up and ready to go.
Okay,
the oak
you've
leaves have
already mentioned the first thing, Austin, that I think we need to kind of address the 5 species of hydrangeas. And there's a lot of confusion, and rightfully so, that folks have with those different species. Why don't you kind of go down the list and help people to kind of understand what difference the species makes, particularly when it comes to when you should trim them?
Yeah, for sure. So, we got 5. And the first one I guess we'll talk about is the big oak leaf hydrangea, which...
101, that's probably the one everybody is familiar with.
Right behind your right shoulder there.
Right behind me.
Back there.
Mm-hmm. I do that one first because it's the first one to bloom. It also gets very large. It prefers a little bit of afternoon shade if you can help it. With a lot of the hydrangeas we're going to talk about prefer that. There's one specific one that doesn't need shade. Hence the name, the species name on the oak leaf is called Quercifolia, which the Quercus refers to the genus of oak trees. So, hence the name Quercifolia. You've got the oak leaf. Folia, refers to the leaf. So, the oak leaf hydrangea, big one, Quercifolia. It's got like kind of a panicle style bloom, so it's not real tight. It's kind of open and kind of working up a stem. So, they're pretty much full show right now, from what I've noticed around town. I know, David, you've got one on the property, and you're up at this house in the yard, and it's gleaming right now. It's really, really pretty.
There are some outstanding examples of them all around, and oak leaves are one of those things that are real showstoppers. I think a lot of people, one of the things that's perhaps is on the negative side of oak leaves, at least for a lot of folks, is that they get the urge to trim them at the time when it's not the good time to trim them. And generally speaking, with all plants, if you're going, no matter if you're talking about hydrangeas or otherwise, the best time to trim them so as to not lose flowers the next year is immediately after they bloom. And if people can kind of keep that one general rule in mind, you can avoid having years where you skipped. At my home in town, they get a little out of hand, and sometimes we don't get them trimmed immediately after their flower because they're looking so nice, and we wind up cutting them back severely in the early spring just to be able to get them back in bounds. Well, that negates any flowers you're going to have that season.
So everybody listen with both ears. What did the guys just say to do? What do you do particularly on the oak leaf? You're going to cut it as soon as the blooms go away, right? Everybody?
Yeah, as a general rule with all flowering plants, that's if you want to make sure you get flowers the next year and you're going to do severe pruning on it, that's the time to do it.
But David, through the years, how many calls have we had about this? I mean, we wait until,
and it also is going to get to here in a minute, the confusable ones, because they don't all flower at the same time. So consequently, it's hard to say a time of year specifically for all hydrangeas because there's not a time of year that applies to all of them. So I'll stop interrupting you now, Austin. Let you resume.
I might not, though. Yeah. Come on, go ahead.
That's fine. So I guess let's move on to the next one, which is probably the one people think about when it comes to hydrangeas more than any of them, and that's going to be the big leaf hydrangeas. So hence the name. The species on that is Macrophylla, which means big leaf. So it's a big leaf hydrangea. These are the ones that are the perfect round, either blue or white or pink round blooms that appear just about this time of year. And most of ours on the lot right now are pretty well full show, and they're about half show around town right now. They're starting to bud up. See a lot of pink, see a lot of blue. Those are the macrophyllas. Those are the real showstoppers. Also,
let me pause you for just a second there, Austin.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about on those the old time Nico Blue cultivars and that kind of thing, where you apply aluminum sulfate or some other type of sulfur compound to change the color. Talk about that for a minute and how that works and the timing that folks need to have to make that happen if they're looking to make a color change on those specific cultivars. It doesn't do it on all of them.
Yeah, no, but like you were talking about, so the pH determines the color of the bloom for the most part. So a lower pH, more acidic soil is going to be a much more blue color. As the pH rises and you get up above 7 a little bit, you're going to start to see pink. If you have kind of a neutral pH, you'll see a lot of purple in there. So the color, is dictated by the pH of the soil, and you can change that, but you got to allow for a little bit of time. So if you're going to want to try to change that, you drop it in the spring. You apply get a product here, apply it in the early spring, and let that slowly seep into the ground. And you may not see color change very quickly on the first season, but you can apply it again the next season, and then you should hopefully get that color where you want it, whether you want blue or you want pink.
Well, the blues in particular, I've noticed this year are just almost electric blue.
Yeah, and you don't. The thing about the hydrangea, you don't see blue in the plant world, like true blue, very often. When we talk about blue in the plant world, a lot of times it's more purple.
Right.
Let's just be honest. But when you can see a true blue, it's just nothing better, if you ask me, on a plant.
Okay, so low pH for blue, high pH for pink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Sometimes you can figure out your pH of your soil by planting a hydrangea and just see kind of where it's at.
Well, my is really high on my on my list. I mean, I check my all the time. Don't you, David?
Oh, yeah. I walk around going a whole bunch.
You usually have a couple of consonants behind that as you say that.
No, of course not, Josh. Never do that. So, all right, Austin. So we've got a little education now about how pH affects the color of some hydrangeas. What's the next thing we got to keep in mind?
Well, we certainly have to talk about pruning when it comes to macrophylla hydrangeas as well. So they bloom off of their old wood. So that's the old stems that are up over the wintertime. Yes, the sticks, I get it a lot. People want to say, well, I hate those sticks. They look ugly. I want to cut them. Well, you can if you don't want to see blooms next summer. You got to leave those stems up. So you can, over the wintertime, clean them up, take some dead or dying canes, or take canes that are crisscrossing, rubbing, any of that, you can get a nice cleanup. But do not take those stems down to the dirt, or you're not going to see a bloom for the next season. So leave the sticks up. If the leaves crack off of those stems, which they usually do, then you'll get a good bloom set that year. Now, late frost can determine that as well. So we didn't get one at the right time this year to knock back any foliage on hydrangeas, which we got lucky. Some years, though, what'll happen is hydrangeas will leaf out from those stems just like they should. Late frost comes in, takes those leaves away, and then you'll see the hydrangeas push back from the ground, from the roots, but you don't get a good flower show that year, if any at all.
I have a neighbor that leaves the blooms on and through the whole winter. One of the things that
I try to do, you mentioned about not trimming them early. I actually don't like trimming them if you're going to trim them at all until you see some signs of new leaves pushing out. Hydrangeas are hollow-stemmed plants. Therefore, if we have an unusually wet winter and you cut them back and those hollow stems are exposed where they get rain down in them, I have seen them rot out all the way to the ground. So that's another hazard that could come on hydrangeas, and another little bit of information to use in making the case for leaving that up there and enjoying that dormant stem look during the winter.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to say, is leave them, really, if it were me, I would leave them all the way up through the wintertime, all stems, like David was just saying, and just cleaning up any dead or dying stuff, but keeping them all the way up, and then that way, in the spring, the plants generally leaf out from the tops first. So, say they leaf out from the top, you got a few buds that crack and you got some leaves out, and then say a late frost does come, whack those leaves, then at least you still got some lower canes to work with to where new leaves can crack off the stems rather than just coming from the ground.
As a general rule, are hydrangeas really sensitive to wet feed as well, since they're a hollow stem?
No, they're not sensitive to wet feed. They actually prefer a good amount of moisture. Like you can grow, like I was saying, some of the macrophyllas and some of the serratas that I'll get to talk about, they can actually handle pretty well full sun, 4 to 6 hours. But if they're not moist, they will wilt on you every single day in that sun. So if you're going to try to grow them in more sunny location, they need to stay moist. Hence the name hydrangea.
That phenomenon we know as turgor pressure comes into play. And we see you will frequently see hydrangeas in the heat of the summer.
It's kind of floppy.
Appear to be dry. They're drooping, and that's not because they're dry. It's because they're in a spot that's a little bit sunny for them, or a little too hot, or it's that time of year where it's just a little much. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It just means that they're begging for some extra shade, and the pressure inside the stem and leaf system drops because it's transpiring out of the foliage faster than it can be uptaken by the stems in the root system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hence the name big leaf. They got a lot of surface area there, so a lot of that comes out, during that hot summer.
Plant sweat.
Pretty much, yeah.
Basically. 615-499-6690. We got the folks in here, folks. Now I'm telling you, jump in here, find out what it is you need to know about Hydrangea Week here on the At Home Show. So it's looking good. Now there's a bunch of other stuff in here as well. Now Tyler was telling me about these ones that are in the front. Now I thought it took me a minute when I walked in studio this morning because I thought we had just a really unusual type of pansy because the bloom is so unique on those. And they're on special this week, I heard. Is that right, Tyler? Yep.
That is exactly right. Yes, we've got them marked down from $14.99 to $9.99. That's these in front here.
Yeah, it's truly the deal on the lot right now, y'all. I mean, these are like 3-gallon size hydrangeas that are blooming
for $10.
For $10. I mean, you can't even buy cut florist flowers for $10.
And they are florist quality.
Now, did you see why I just on a quick glance, it almost has a pansy type of a bloom on it to me. And again, that's just, but the differences in the shades on that same plant are just stunning.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you mentioned the phrase cut flowers. I want to give a shout out to Melissa McKay, who does such a wonderful job down in our annual. She's doing some regular spots now about cut flowers. Need to make sure you take a few moments and watch this week's edition of. She does a wonderful job and really help you get an understanding of how you can make use of all these things that are blooming in your yard. If you've taken the time to kind of get an assortment of things out there, how you can bring that inside the house and really make use of it and bring that color into the home where you can get maximum enjoyment of it. So make sure you check that out over. Tyler, where did we find that on the website? How do we get most directly to that? Or is it on the YouTube channel only?
Is that the Cut Flower Gardening webinar?
Yes. Yes.
That's going to be on the Botanical Bootcamp webinar archive.
BNBBC.
Yep, that's right. With an A at the end. And it's the first one you'll see, Cut Flower Gardening. And it's got her beautiful arrangement there as the tile for the blog.
So anyway, Melissa does a great job of that, and we invite you to check that out. And hydrangeas are just one of the things that are a great possibility to use it for a cut flower arrangement. So let's move along now, Austin, and what else do you have for us with regard to hydrangeas?
All right, let's stay on with the more kind of shady afternoon lovers. These are Hydrangea Arborescens over here, which is the ones we call our Annabelle types. Now there's a number of cultivars now that produce bigger blooms. One called Incredible that I'm a big fan of. I've got it in my yard, actually. They're about half show right now. They're the ones that people talk about with the big white round blooms that pair really well with, say, boxwood out in front. Is very good. They're really, really good in mass. If you got a large area that's kind of, maybe got a big old oak tree or maple or something kind of casting some shade through the day, just massing hydrangeas across. It's a very tough plant. They're actually native here. I noticed driving home, I saw some Annabelle types on the side of the kind of wood line that are blooming right now. And just an excellent plant. That's another one that David had talked about earlier that will sun wilt on you if they have a little bit too much sunshine and heat in the dead of the summer. They will wilt on you even if they're not dry. So
yeah, I've got a bed of these, 10 of them in like a triangular planting at my home in West Nashville. And one of the great things about and the Annabelle cultivars, the Hydrangea Arborescens species of those is what differentiates those from the big leaf or garden type hydrangeas is that you really want to cut those back severely, and I always do, is just as soon as they start showing new growth on those, and I will cut back to the ground, because unlike the other hydrangeas that we've spoken about this morning, they produce bloom buds on the new growth that comes out, not on the previous growth. Now, that's not with some of the repeat flowering types, the big leaf types will produce some flowers on the current year wood, but without exception, the Annabelle cultivars, Incredible, all of those do flower on the current year wood. So if you cut them back, what that does is it keeps the stems much thicker and stronger. And when those flowers come out on them, they're going to be a lot less likely to flop. Now, they've done some improvements on that particular cultivar you're talking about, Incredible, in that the stems were a little light on them in the early versions of it, and they've improved that quite a lot so that they stand up there and don't. What typically happens and what can happen a lot is you get a heavy rain when they're in full bloom, and those flowers just load up with water, and they're easy for them to break over, particularly if you haven't trimmed them enough to shorten and hopefully try to get thicker stems on them and make them stand up so they'll be able to evaporate that water off and not break off. Now, I've seen that happen a lot.
Quick question in regards to that, and it's going to change the subject slightly. My red rocker crepe myrtles do that. Are they working on the stems of some of the crepe myrtles, because they get so heavy with blooms that they catch up and then they tend to lay down too? Are they doing any work with that one?
I'm sure they're constantly doing work on hybridizing more crepe myrtles. Gosh, I'd say crepe myrtle rivals hydrangea and how many cultivars there are now. There's so many. But you can, like David was saying, you can help with your pruning techniques on getting some of that wood a little bit thicker and shortening a little bit as the season goes on.
Well, Mama is the pruning technician at the household. I mean, she David, you know her. I mean, she likes order. She likes symmetry. She likes things her way. You know that type?
Well, I know that all things gardening are subject to differences of opinion. And I would not say that Renee and I are in agreement on everything. But you know what? I pretty much allow the gardening thing to all be her deal. She's the one who really enjoys it. And so, I'm okay. If I get asked, I will give my input.
You probably get dismissed just like I do with the input, though, right? I mean, the decision is usually made by the time that the question is asked, though, I would imagine, right?
I would say that there could be some cases where that's true.
85% of the time, or do you get that?
I'm not going to speculate on percentages.
All right, 615-499-6690. It's time, folks, because I mean, today's going to be a glorious day outside, so you're going to be able to see, and things are really starting to pop. I mean, we've had some moisture, and we've had a lot of moisture. We're going to get a lot more moisture. So
my garden is enormous.
Oh yeah,
like it is just crazy. Like it's almost hard to weed it.
Yeah,
like down at the bottom, it's so thick. I've already gotten a bunch of zucchinis, squashes.
Zucchinis?
Yep, zucchinis.
Is that the proper plural?
It's my way of saying it. I've got a bunch of zucchini. Is that better?
Squash.
Do you feel better about your life now? You feel pretty good?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
Right.
I might bring you some. Then you can enjoy the zucchinis too.
Grilled in particular.
I did grill some.
Now, Michael experimented with hardwood on his grill last night.
Oh yes, that was awesome.
Now, he sent me a picture of his temperature gauge, guys. If you need any crockery fired, he can do that on his Weber.
Oh, I got a Weber kettle grill, and the thermometer only goes up to like 600 degrees. It'd gone all the way around and back up. Oh God! So I had it up to like 1,200 degrees in there.
Do you have the app also with the digital?
No. I'm all analog with this thing.
Okay.
It was up there though. It was. I just took out
This is not a pellet grill. This is an old-fashioned kettle Weber.
Right.
I wanted to know how to do like wood-fired stuff in that grill, and someone just said, the chunks of wood that you smoke with, just start a fire with that. Let it burn down the coals and then cook with that. So it was awesome. The pork chops are great.
Excellent. Hey, let's take a break for just a moment and talk about things you need to do to have success in gardening. And of course, that's Earth Mix Garden Products, and where we contend that success begins at the ground level. If you want to get the most out of your investment of your time and money when you're doing your gardening, it stands to reason you're only going to do the very best you can do if you have the soil prepared properly. And at Earth Mix Garden Products, we really try to do everything possible to replicate what nature provides without the use of chemical fertilizers. It's all 100% organic, sustainably produced line of soils and amendments, whether you use supernatural organic compost for your vegetable gardening or simply just to revitalize soil. It's one of the great choices. Earth Mix Garden, the original, the flagship product. It's a great all-purpose, and guess what? It actually has topsoil,
dirt.
So
it's got dirt in it, man. Yeah,
that is a part of the mix. It does a great job for that. One of the most widely used products at this time of year, in particular, is Earth Mix Landscape. And if trees, shrubs, perennials, ground covers, whatever, Earth Mix Landscape is a great amendment to add to your soil to keep it growing and going its very best. And don't forget the Proganics line of soils, Proganics O for outdoor plantings and Proganics I for indoor. Totally peat free to have. There's no peat moss in any of these, so you don't get those awful fungus gnats. And we really feel like the coconut core is a lot more sustainable as a medium to grow in than is peat moss. So no matter what you choose, you can find Earth Mix Garden Products all around the area. Click on the Find Earth Mix tab when you go to earthmix.net, and there you will see the map and all the pins all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even up into Indiana and Ohio. You can click on one of those and it'll take you to the location nearest you, or you can get turn-by-turn directions. By doing so, remember this: success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden Products. And appreciate you giving us a minute to talk about that.
David Bates, we're being viewed in Providence, Rhode Island at a coffee shop.
Sweet.
Yes.
Well, we're taking questions from Providence, Rhode Island, and anywhere else on the planet that happens to be tuned in today. And we appreciate you checking us out and giving us a minute to kind of hopefully have a little fun with the gardening question and give some information along the way. And we're glad to have Austin Lowen in the studio again today. Austin is a wealth of information, and we're very fortunate to have him as a part of our staff here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and he brings a lot to the party. So speaking of which, we're working on hydrangeas today. You can't help but miss those. They're or you can't miss them, I should say. They're everywhere, blooming right now, and we certainly have a lot of them here at Bates Nursery.
Yeah, specifically on our lot, we are loaded with them. So I got a feeling we won't be by the end of the day.
I mean, at
not at that price, you won't.
Well,
be.
Well, they're not all $9.99.
No.
It's just there's a selected, and you got a pretty good pile of them out there. I know.
Going with that, we got 210 of them in. What, 2 days ago, Tyler? What are we down to? 50, maybe.
Okay.
I don't even know if we have that.
Come early, come often.
I mean, they've been extremely popular.
Every single cart going through checkout has at least one on it. It seems like.
Yep.
Yep.
And these, I believe the white ones are hardy. I'm not sure about the purple ones and the pink ones. But and I believe size wise they grow to what, 4x4?
Yeah, that's a good general
ish.
Too, using these in pots, even if they aren't necessarily hardy, growing these in containers on more of an afternoon shade kind of front porch area.
There's an idea.
I'm telling you, hydrangeas in pots are something else.
That
we really got a great show of the hydrangeas all over the studio this morning, and thanks to Joey Bovin. I know Joey was heavily involved in making that happen. She's always does a wonderful job of decorating our set every Friday afternoon for our Saturday morning program. So thank you, Joy, for that. And okay, what are we up to now, Austin? We've covered number of different cultivars and species of hydrangea. What else you got for us?
We got the one, we went through probably the big three for the kind of shade, and then there's one more that a lot of people don't think of, and it's called Hydrangea Serrata. So hence the name Serrata. It's got very serrated leaves, more so than the other ones. They still get roughly in that same size range, 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. They're commonly called mountain hydrangeas, and their bloom looks a little different. I was hoping I could get this. This one's called Tough Stuff.
Ooh, don't hurt your back.
Yeah. Hence the name Tough Stuff. This is no joke. They're very, very hardy. They're coming back without a problem every year. But look at these blooms. Much, much different. More of what we would call a lace cap bloom. More so. It's not totally round and full and this big bloom, but it's got this flat kind of spray of petals with a lot of the parts on the interior there that's more for reproduction. But they're just cool. I mean, you look at that, you don't see that very often. And if you need a super hardy plant for you, this is one for you as well. And I was reading last night about them a little bit more. And once again, they can handle a full sun environment if the water is there. If there's not enough water around the root zone, these things are going to flag and wilt on you just like the other ones will.
Now, that rascal's going to get bigger than 4x4, though, isn't it?
It can. I mean, you can control that by pruning a little bit.
What zone hardiness does that one list as?
Let's see, hardy all the
probably
way.
about a 5.
Laurel?
Or is it lower than that?
Yep, USDA 5 to 9.
Okay, and what that means is that because it's a good 2 zones more hardy than what we are. We're in zone 7 in Middle Tennessee. So what that means is that you might be able to get by with it in a container, because when you plant something in a container, you effectively lose 2 hardiness zones. So you have to be able to allow for extra winter hardiness if you're going to try something in a pot. So you could try those in a container and you could have success, unless it's a really severe winter where they could freeze out. So just be mindful of that. It's like you said already, it's a great container plant. And even if it didn't come back reliably every single year, you likely are going to get many consecutive years of repeat flowers out of it, particularly if you've got the right location for those containers where they get morning sun and are shaded in the heat of the day.
What the one in the front here on stage left that is right in front of Michael there? What is that one? Because it's got I don't know if it's ready to bloom or it's already in bloom, but it's got a different kind of feature to it.
You're talking about the white ones or the pink?
The green ones that are here on the very front.
Okay. Yeah, that's the next type of species of hydrangea we would talk about. And you can get a little picture of them. Those are just starting, actually. They're not finished. They're not in show. They're just beginning to open up. And that's the biggest difference with those. Those are the panicle or the paniculata hydrangeas. Those
remember that, paniculata.
Yeah.
Paniculata.
Paniculata.
Okay, not paniculata.
No, paniculata.
Paniculata.
And much less round of a bloom, much more pointed, similar to our oak leaves we had talked about earlier. But that plant specifically needs 4 to 6, if not 6+ hours of sun a day. So we have them here on the lot on the blacktop asphalt, getting sun 100% of the day, 100% of their life that they're here with no break from it ever. They never wilt on us. They prefer the full sun to give you their best flower show, and that plant gets big. Most of them now, the most common one that we think of is called Limelight Hydrangea. Y'all are probably familiar. Hence the name. It starts out kind of greenish in bud. It comes out really green, and then once it opens up to a just beautiful true white on this big kind of cone-shaped bloom. That'll stick around for a while, and then after that, it starts to fade to its pink, and then you'll start working pink all the way up into that bloom. And there's some new varieties now that actually they're working on getting the pink a little bit better. So the white's tried and true. It's going to come out white, and it's going to look good. But the show afterwards is kind of what I think they've been trying to work on. There's one with Firelight, I believe is the name of it, that's supposed to have a really much better rich red color, pinkish red, I should say, after it is done blooming.
Is that another one that's right there in front of the light there? It has more of a red cast to my eye there, right there to the back here. Put your finger up, Michael. Point. Yeah, that one.
Straight
down off into there. That's actually an Annabelle type.
That's an Annabelle?
It is. That's just starting as well. So that one I believe is Mini Malvette, I believe is the name of that one, and they've gotten pink Annabelles now. These hit, I think, past couple years. They've been working on them.
When they first came out, Austin, they were one of the crappiest plants.
Yes.
They were a really they were a very, very pale pink. They had very weak stems, and we hear a lot of talk in our everyday life about genetics and all the things that go on. Some of those things are perhaps deemed unscrupulous or whatever. Well, the plant community really relies heavily, always has, on genetics, but the ability for cultivars to be improved and to do selection where that the only the best attributes and the best qualities that a plant exhibits can be refined, that gives us a plant like that one. I'm trying to think of the name of the one that they first came out with that was just horrid. I mean, they were junk.
POC?
Pardon me?
POC?
Yeah.
I don't remember. They were bad, but the color obviously on those has gotten in really amazing level, and it's nice that we're able to use genetics and do all the things that through tissue cultures and all that to really greatly increase the speed of which many of these cultivars can be produced, because so many more can be done at one time.
Well, see, and that, all the research that you've done there at the home office in Groom Lake is paying off, David. I mean, that one particular lab down there that you won't even let me go into.
And it's more terrestrial, Josh, than most people think. It's not otherworldly. It's from here.
Hey, that's what the government's saying about the UFOs. They say no evidence. UFOs are alien spacecraft.
There's one in Smyrna. I'm telling you. I sent David the photographic evidence. Now, he's actually at the home office, and I want you to take that down to the forensics photo lab there. And I want that to be diagnosed.
Identified. And you said that was an F-35.
No. There was one picture that I sent you that I said that I think there's an UAP, and I have a series of, and I can't show you. I'd have to kill y'all if I have to show you. But David has got that photographic evidence, and we need to get it. We need to get it forensically.
Bob Lazar sent that to you, Josh. Is that what you're?
David, you just need to send that to me, and I'll tell you real quick what version of Photoshop Josh used.
I did not use Photoshop. I did not use Photoshop. It's actually the MyPillow guy that I sent them to, too. So, I mean, we're okay. But, Tyler, if you've got the, speaking of that, we were kicking around a little bit of fun. There is a big thing going on down in 37167, folks, that if you see some unusual loud things flying through the sky, it's not a crow, but we've got...
is that the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels?
This is the Thunderbirds this year.
Thunderbirds, okay.
And that is from the side steps at the Proving Grounds. So you get to see, we get quite the show there, being in the proximity to the fine Smyrna Airport, but they do put on quite a show. But I'll show everybody off air, because I can't put these out for public because somebody will steal the images and stuff like that. But one thing David did mention is that there is another one here that we did see. These are quite impressive. Now, these are not necessarily, this may use non-terrestrial technologies. These are the F-35C show group that came over directly over the driveway too.
That's not the V-stall version of the jet, is it? Those are the ones that have the vertical takeoff, short landing.
Again, I haven't done the spec sheet on the F-35Cs. I know the F-22s that we originally thought these were.
A version of that is able to essentially land straight down and take off in a very
this
short
is the
space.
this is the Air Force version. I'm sure that I think it was developed again for the
Navy
for the
version
and the Marines.
Have that.
But yes, and when they come over the house, it sounds like freedom, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you that. But the dogs don't care for the air show. I know. But if you're traveling in and around Smyrna this afternoon, there will be road closures because of these, and just pay attention, because they'll get you.
Are they landing on the highway?
Now you will remember, Michael, that during the air show 4 years ago now, is that 4 years ago, we lost one of the Blue Angels during practice. Yep. So it's not a bad idea to close some of that.
There's a wonderful memorial to that aviator,
Captain Jeff Cuss, and
he saved a lot of lives by making sure that plane went down where it didn't take any other life with it. So it was pretty amazing.
And it is quite a nice memorial there you see, and it's neat. You need to stop by and go out there and see it.
I saw that big sign for Crosland Building Supply coming back from Chattanooga too.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Did it urge you to buy lumber?
I just urged me to tell my son that's where Josh works.
Oh, okay. Well, it should urge you to buy lumber and windows and doors and trim and roofing. And
Hey, I'm going to talk about lumber for just a minute, Josh.
Why,
there's
David?
A huge amount of talk about how the prices have gone up and up and up. Is there any suggestion that perhaps we've hit a peak on that, or is it still trending upward? Well, what can you tell us?
I don't really watch the lumber market because it's kind of depressing for me. But I will tell you this: that
You got a front row seat, Josh. You should be watching it.
But again, the price of OSB, you got to have it. It's going to be where it's going to be. But I did get notification that something. Think about this, folks: pocket door frames. Anybody know what a pocket door is? Everybody, raise your hands.
The door that goes in a pocket.
It goes in the wall. Okay, it's one of these that slides and hides.
I've got one of those.
You do?
Yep.
You're so sexy.
I know.
I know. It's just neat. The price of pocket door frames will be rising 24%.
So I'm taking care of mine.
Okay, yeah. You don't want to. You won't be able to reuse it, but shoe
Josh,
mold.
You guys by chance sell the little adapter kit where you can make it where you walk up to the door and it opens automatically like on Star Trek? It makes the sound when it does it.
Honestly, that we do not sell a whole lot of them, but that product line is probably available. We did sell a remote control 20-foot by 8-foot tall door.
Is that opened by like a vacuum system, by the way? Because of the sound it makes?
It's hydraulics, man.
There's some guy on the, obviously on the internet who came up with a thing, but it's a mechanical opening thing, but it just has a sound effect that does the swoosh.
In 1966, when Star Trek came on, I would be willing to bet you that there was actually still a sound effects department, and there was somebody standing over there with a bag of sugar or something going and making that noise, and they just happened to capture it. But speaking of Star Trek, we have a Captain Picard plant here in studio. The Stargazer. Mm-hmm. This is amazing, folks.
Yeah, this one's fantastic. So it looks and presents more like it would be a Serrata hydrangea with that kind of flat spray bloom, but it's actually not. It's a macrophylla, so it's a big leaf hydrangea as well. But you get a mix of white and pink, and it's a star-shaped bloom. I mean, I'm going to pluck this one, but look at that. It's double, almost triple inside there.
I'm going to get a discount on that one now.
Yeah. But it's fantastic. And yeah, it's called Stargazer. And like I said, another macrophylla, so give it a little afternoon shade. But other than that, it is really attractive.
It is just, it's unlike anything you've ever seen. And I know there are a lot of hydrangea fanatics in Middle Tennessee. So you got to have one of these. I mean, it is.
I want to take a moment and talk to those hydrangea fanatics. And Austin, you work with me on this here. We're
bunch of crazies, are they?
The place that we're broadcasting from today, the entire facility called Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and the green room certainly is located there. What we have in studio today is just a very small sampling of the vast array of not only hydrangeas, but all the other landscape materials that you're going to find. Anything your heart desires, we have it. And if you're curious about what all those things might be, you really need to check out It's Worth a Grow series that Austin does with the capable production skills of Tyler, I should add.
Mr. T.
Really enjoy what you put out on those, Austin, once or twice a week, where you do a 1 minute focus on a single cultivar species of plant. Really does a great job of giving you some ideas about things you need to be thinking about. And if you come out and talk to Austin or any one of our great landscape professionals here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, it really helps a lot, Austin, when they bring out photographs on their smartphone or a little tablet to give us insight into their unique landscape situation.
No, it's a game changer. Yeah. I mean, when you try to explain to me what you've got versus what I can see that you've got, it greatly helps me design something.
It's
for
12
you.
inches long.
Yeah.
Okay. Right? Okay. It's about, it may be from here to there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's kind of got a triangle to it or a curve. Yeah. So pictures really, really help me out, especially if we're trying to actually design you something that's kind of nice. And right now, since we're talking hydrangeas, if you've got a large, yard with a lot of big older trees in it, and you think you can maybe even create a new perennial bed with using hydrangeas out up underneath trees or making a bed around a tree. Right now, our selection of really sun and shade perennials is fantastic. I mean, we got like 4 trucks in over the past 2 days of flowering perennial plants. So creating a whole new bed up underneath a big tree is something that's fun to do, and we can help you design it. And we've got tons of perennials that you kind of start with your hydrangeas, get a bunch of them, mass them all together, get them in this big ring around a tree, and then maybe let's build out from that.
Everybody talks about the old silver maples that put the roots right up on the top of the ground. What a place that you're talking about, man. I mean, that's a perfect spot for that.
As long as you can dig
between them, they are there to be sure. But when you come out, either meet with Austin or any one of our other great landscape professionals here at Bates Nursery and guide you through the whole process. You mentioned perennials, Joy Boven down there in that area, Melissa McKay down in annuals. We have a complete selection of everything you're looking for, be it edible landscape plants, berry plants, vining plants, fruit trees, ornamental trees, shade trees, Japanese maples, which we have a really excellent selection of.
Native plants, house plants,
native plants, yes.
Crockery.
So you name it. We try to cover it all here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and we invite you to come out and see us. Of course, we highly recommend if you're going to get the best stuff, which is what we sell, use Earth Mix Garden products along with it. And we've got a couple of specials going on this weekend for Bates Rewards members, and you know who you are. You get 30% off of Earth Mix Garden or Proganics Eye in bags. So check that out when you come out to see us. We are conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. That's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And I promise you, it is worth the drive from anywhere. Check out our extensive website, batesnursery.com. You see there on the screen behind you, and all the many informational things we do, including the at-home show archives and all of the It's Worth a Grow, Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp. We are really beginning to accumulate quite a plethora of plant information. We're here to help you. Please come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932. My grandmother started it back on 26th and Charlotte here in town and back in the day. So thank you to her and to you for giving us a moment to talk about it.
615-499-6690. You have your finger raised there.
I have a question about tomato plants real quick.
Cool.
So I've got 3 plants. And in my above ground garden, they don't have names. 2 of them are the same cultivar or whatever it's called, and the one in the back is different. Now the 2 in the front, they're covered in tomatoes. I mean, covered in them. The one in the back, it's producing blooms, no fruit. Do you need to have 2 or no? Okay.
No, tomatoes are so fertile, but what's the plant look like?
It's big and green and everything else. I mean,
you got early girls going in the front, and you got something else in the back, probably.
Yeah, I mean, is it a full size tomato? Is it a cherry? Or?
Oh no, it's full size. It's a hybrid. I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Okay,
maybe it's a late bloomer.
Could be.
So
yeah, so some of the earliest tomatoes you'll get is like a 55-day crop, which is very early, which is typically like an early girl type or some cherry types. Yeah. But then you can work all the way into like 85, 90 day. Type varieties when you get real full size big tomatoes. So
now the 2 species in the front, Better Boy.
Better Boy.
Yeah, that's what's in the front.
That's an excellent hybrid, actually. I mean, it's pretty tried and true plant, and
that was Opa's go-to. I mean, early girls and Better Boys. That was all he ever grew.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember the one in the back, but I was just getting worried about it because I water it.
You should.
Obviously, I should worry about it.
You need to double up on your worry. I don't think you're worried enough. That's the problem.
Well, I don't know what else I can do. Water it daily if it doesn't.
Is that the side of the house with the guy that doesn't have any landscaping?
Yeah, he put barbed wire across the bottom of his fence to keep his dog from getting out.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Barbed wire.
Yeah, that counts.
That's a humane way. To
What kind of
take care
dog?
it.
It's a bulldog,
Oh,
pit bull or something. I can't. Sweet dog, little sweet dog.
That's a neighbor that needs landscaping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
his name's Cody.
no, Cody's landscaping challenged, man. I mean, it's
No. Cody has a.
Your yard look really good though, Mike.
It does, but he has a brand new baby girl. I can't blame him. It's like 3 months old.
baby girls like plants too. Trust me, I raised two.
I think this one just likes to sleep.
Okay, well, that's a good thing at 3 months old. Trust me. But yeah, he's challenged, man.
I need to take pictures of like my entire landscaping because I got a lot of cool stuff in the yard.
You do?
I'm still identifying a lot of it. But
Does Cody have? Does he have Michael Stevenson landscape envy? Is that what the problem is? You've shamed him into that he's not going to participate at all. Is that?
No, I haven't talked to Cody in probably 6 to 7 months, but I talked to his
I
father.
wouldn't talk to him either. That's the way his yard looks. I mean, my gosh.
Jesus, Josh, what are you trying to do?
Huh? Start Hatfield and McCoy.
Yeah, I like Cody. I think he's a cool dude.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure Cody's.
Hey,
I'm sure he's a fine guy.
He keeps his yard mowed. That's all I care about. And the front of his house is actually landscaped very well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. We have temporarily lost our video feed. Our camera. There it is.
Oh, there we go. So could they hear us still?
Yes, actually, yes, the whole time.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
David was just right in the center. So
The audio was never lost, but the video went away for a few months. Perhaps I was still on screen. I'm not sure.
Yes,
but,
You were.
You were.
So
It's-
all everybody saw was him rolling his eyes at me and Josh talking.
actually, I was texting Tyler, letting him know that we lost the video because he hadn't
yeah,
noticed it,
and I was
so,
waiting for a
anyway.
moment to interject that we lost video.
Hey, David, you were right about eating those zucchini when they're only like 6 inches long. They were delicious.
They're really
oh
good
my
on
gosh.
the really good on the grill
You
too,
can't
Michael.
beat it. I mean, just to pick them straight off, and just give them a little rinse and crunch. I mean, they're incredible.
If you wait
But
one
we
day
let them
too
grow
long,
to where what people deemed to be like a prize-winning size,
Yeah.
they become a weapon. They're not good. We got some presented to us as a gift by some of our friends a year or so ago, and
Wow.
we thanked them
Oh,
graciously.
geez.
They were
Thank
so
you.
happy with how large they had gotten. Then we, of course, threw them away. Put them in the compost bin.
But is that the same with the eggplant? Is that do you need to eat those small or?
Well, eggplant can get too large. Generally speaking, with most things, squash, eggplant, cucumbers, you don't want those things to.
Okra.
okra for sure.
They become weaponized. They get really hard. You could get an eggplant big enough that would be tough enough. Probably eggplant would be less susceptible to it. Am I right about that, Austin?
Yes.
Than would be,
Yeah.
say, crookneck squash or zucchinis or cucumbers.
Yeah.
So what's the
They-
ideal
they
size
can
for a
become
crookneck
weaponized
squash then?
fairly quickly.
About that
Similar to a zucchini, yeah. I mean,
So about this big?
about 6 to 8 inches, about all you
Okay.
want. Keep it thin. That way you can grill with them a little bit nicer. Slice them that way and grill.
Saute them with some onions.
Yeah, because if you wait literally a day late, if you see them and they're 6 8 inches, the next day you could miss them and they'll be too not.
Some of
not
my
good.
zucchini too is the blossom. It appears to be rotting on it in the end of the thing. And from what I can tell, I need to put some lime, some calcium in there somehow.
Potentially. I mean, if maybe next season get a soil test and see if that's actually what you need. But a lot of times lime is needed. After 2 or 3 years of growing stuff, you kind of have to go back in and
Okay,
do
well
that.
that's not the problem then.
Oh, okay.
Because I've got good dirt in there. It's
What you need to be concerned about on squash are the squash vine borers, which are
Killers.
frequently problematic. And the difficulty, if they were available, if you had plants that you could plant, say maybe every 3 weeks, where you'd have some juvenile plants coming along, you could be more assured of having a squash throughout the season. They do make it at times, but if you get those squash vine borers in there, and you can look carefully at the stem to see if that's the case, you got to pull those out and destroy those. I mean, not just pull them out of the garden and throw it away.
Burn 'em.
I mean, you really need to burn them to kill off the eggs to get rid of those.
I was gonna mention or ask earlier, the larger size of the fruit. Does that just mean that there's excess water in the fruit that dilutes the kind of flavor, or what makes it less desirable?
Just generally speaking, with most fruiting type plants, they're usually best when they're in more of a juvenile stage. You think about it, harvesting them a little bit earlier than you would other things is just they tend to be more tender, fleshy and good. And when they get too big, they just get too much in there. They're too meaty. You don't need all that much.
The only reason you'd want to do that, from my point of view, is if you are growing them for seed. If you're wanting to save seed for future, you need to let them get big and let them mature so that you can cut them open and excavate the seed out of them, allow them to dry, and they'll be fertile. If you pick them when they're at the prime edible stage, the seeds are infertile still at that point, so you're not going to get anything out of them. But if you want to save seed for particularly like late in the season, that would be the time to allow some to grow to a much bigger size, and then you can allow them to begin to dry and extract the seed from them, and then you'll have them to plant the next year.
Wonderful.
But jalapenos don't have to be eaten green either. You can leave them on and let them turn red, and they're awfully, awfully good when you get that size.
They're way tastier when they're red, if you ask me. It's just that a lot of times with jalapenos, they won't finish red. Right. They'll maybe rot before they go to that red. When they do go red, though, that's the best time to eat a jalapeno. Just straight. You got all of the sugar content in that red. You got the sugars are way higher, so you get sweet heat, and they're money.
Now, does anybody sell hatch chilies? I mean, that you talk about a great chili, and you can only seem to get them in New Mexico and southern Colorado. But you try to find the hatch seeds, and you can't. Is it a protected variety that they just don't sell them?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't.
My cousin grows them.
Hatches in New Mexico.
He lives in New Mexico.
Yeah. Okay. But
I had this question from a customer actually, and I asked Julie, who's our buyer here, works miracles, and she said that she hasn't seen any available. So it could just be that, unless we go to those nurseries in New Mexico.
Well, I mean,
Julie doesn't know. Nobody knows.
Well, if you try to find them, because you can find the powders, you can find the moles, you can find all different kinds of products from hatch chilies, either the green or the red, but you can't find seeds.
But I mean, does it just not grow here very well? Hatch chili doesn't it grow very well in the Southwest? I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Peppers do really well here, too.
Yeah, I don't see why not. As long as it's not wet or something. Other than that, they should finish just like anything.
That is the one thing about peppers, that they don't like wet feet. They love it hot, and they love getting dry. They don't want to stay dry, but they like to be able to get to the point of even dryness before they get watered again. So if you have a lot of peppers on your plants this week, may be challenging because we're looking at rain almost daily.
Yep. Hopefully
that it will be not as significant as the forecast looks like. There's no mention of flooding or anything, but it is 2 to 3 to 4 tenths of an inch of rain every day over the coming week after today.
So I need to mow my yard today.
Yes. Mind you, we are open today from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. We'll be open on Sunday from noon until 4. So come out and see us anytime during the week at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We're here to help you get on with your gardening goodies.
And you better get out here, because I'm going to take home some of these special hydrangeas that are on sale. I'm going to take home 2 or 3 of them so that the supply just went down. You got to get them. They're gorgeous, folks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bates employees have taken probably more than any customer.
The downside to working at Bates Nursery is if you're a plant person, and that's pretty much by definition the kind of people who work in nurseries that you invest back into your the company you work for by buying stuff. You
have a payroll deduction plan here, David?
and
we are the company store.
But what you get out of that as a customer is that you're dealing with people who grow these things in their yards, and they really get to know these plants, not just the positive attributes, but whatever problems you could have with them as well. So come out and talk to Austin and any of our staff of horticulturalists at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And we'll help you get the right plant in the right place the first time. That's the way we do it.
All righty, folks. We are coming to the end of this edition of the
Got a minute and 40 seconds.
I know. I looked at that. I was just saying we were coming down.
Said he was coming up to the end, Mike.
But we were going to
count him out, Michael.
Yeah, count me down. Yeah, you can go like.
One time I heard a guy do a commercial, and he had to fill 30 seconds. and he only did 20, so he counted down from 10 for the last 10 seconds. So
We never had that problem, David, back in the day when we used to voice them, because they used to give us about a minute and 45.
Had about, I'm going to say 2.5 minutes worth of copy in a 60-second.
And I did it.
And they went through and edited every breath, every space between every word, and enhanced it. And it all got in there, but I'm not sure anyone could understand it. So we try to speak intelligibly the best we can.
It sounded like everything was running together, like, come down, check your truck, it's all good, bud, and just so fast.
Yeah, it was was it a structural steel company of something that we were peddling for WTN?
I don't even remember. That's how, I just remember you doing it, and I go, what was that?
All righty, folks. This edition of the show is coming to a close. I want to thank Austin for being in here. I want to thank Mr. T for being in here.
Thank you,
Michael got back, and yes, we'll have to remove his.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, David. We're going to have to remove that demerit from his permanent file because he did call in. So, I mean, it's one of those things.
My demerit is now Tyler's demerit.
Hey, Michael, I just got your voicemail.
Okay. All righty, folks. Next Saturday, we'll be here for you. You can tune in anywhere on the planet, anytime, 24 hours a day, 365 or 66 days a year at YouTube. You can find us on the archives at the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates Facebook page. Hey, share us. Go to get a podcast. Tell the world that we're out here for you. But next Saturday, we will be alive here from the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.